Son, what the hell are you doing?
364 more days till next year's hockey tryouts. I gotta toughen up.
Okay, we're going to take a look at how many days there are in a Hebrew year. This is chapter 6 of the book of Jubilees. Verse 32 says that the children of Israel were commanded to observe the years according to this reckoning, 364 days. These constitute a complete year, and they will not disturb its time from its days and from its feast, for everything will fall out in them according to their testimony, and they will not leave out any day nor disturb any feast. In other words, if the calendar is less than 364 days or more than 364 days, then Yah's people would disrupt the seasons, the months, the weeks, the days, the feast days, etc. Now we know that the Gregorian calendar, they have an extra day or two as far as the days that make up the year. They add a day every so often during February. But the true number of days in a year is 364 days. This is the calendar the Creator gave to His people for them to observe while on earth. So if you keep reading on to verse 33, it says that if they do neglect and do not observe them according to His commandment, then they will disturb all their seasons, and the years will be dislodged from this order, and they will disturb the seasons, and the years will be dislodged, and they will neglect their ordinances. Verse 34, and all the children of Israel will forget, and will not find the path of the years, and will forget the new months, and seasons, and Sabbaths, and they will go wrong as to all the order of the years. So it's very important that we keep the calendar 364 days and not 365 or 366 like the Gregorian calendar. Otherwise, you're going to be lost as far as time goes. And that's the purpose of the heathen Gregorian calendar, is to throw off the people of Yah, but also because they have their own days of worship. So they like to borrow from the Creator certain things, certain aspects, certain modes of operandi, so to speak. And they like to mix it up with their own way of worship. Alright, this is our second witness, the book of Enoch, chapter 74. You take a look at verse 10, it tells you that the year is no doubt 364 days. Nothing more, nothing less. It says here in verse 10 that, and if 5 years are added together, the sun has an overplus of 30 days, and all the days which accrue to it for one of those 5 years, when they are full, amount to 364 days. So 1 out of 5 years amounts to 364 days. In other words, 1 year is 364 days. And here it is again in verse 12. It says here that a complete year with perfect justice is in 364 days. So we have two witnesses, the book of Jubilees and the book of Enoch. Both say that the year is 364 days. Okay. This is chapter 82 of the book of Enoch. Verse 6. Again, the year is completed in 364 days. The account thereof is accurate, and the recorded reckoning thereof exact. Okay? So there it is. Don't go by the Gregorian calendar. The Gregorian calendar has an extra day or two, depending. So if you want to get the proper timing on the Sabbaths, the weeks, the months, the years, then go by the 364 day year, not 365 or 366, okay? So I hope this information blesses you. For those wondering what's up with the years, why they keep adding days, well, they add days because they want to throw off the people of the Creator. And as long as you keep going by these heathens' laws, then you're never going to find the truth, alright? So that's all I got for this video. I hope it was informative. As always, not but love. And until next time, shalom.
And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hands until a time and times and the dividing of time.
We waited with clam sauce. For breakfast? Wonder about it. What's that you're eating so faithful? It's incredible. 364 days yet to be gagging on a peach that nobody would notice.
Archaeologists have deciphered one of the last parts of the Dead Sea Scrolls, unlocking one of its final mysteries. Researchers at the University of Haifa spent over a year piecing together 60 tiny fragments of the scroll. It revealed a sort of calendar, with festivals that marked the changing of seasons, including the festival of new wheat, new wine, and new oil. The calendar was based on a 364-day year, with each festival taking place 50 days after the other. Researchers said the 364-day calendar worked perfect. Because this number can be divided into 4 and 7, special occasions always fall on the same day. There are 900 scrolls that make up the Dead Sea Scrolls, and it's considered to be the oldest copy of the Bible in known existence.
And the Enochian calendar is in fact the 364-day calendar. And what they didn't mention in that excerpt is that the book of Enoch was also found with these oldest copies of the Bible. And so you see, there is much, much more to the book of Enoch than you can ever imagine. Now, the fascinating thing about this brand new discovery is that they allude to the fact that this calendar is found elsewhere in the Dead Sea Scrolls, but they won't come right out and tell you that it's in the book of Enoch. Now we're going to take a closer look at this Enochian calendar, and there are some fascinating revelations. This is the article here. This is breaking news. Researchers have finally decoded one of the last remaining Dead Sea Scrolls, and what they found was this calendar. Now, this is the Enochian calendar. It says here that it was described in the pseudepigraphal book of Enoch. This is what we've been talking about. It divided the year into 4 seasons of exactly 13 weeks each. Each season consisted of a 30-day month, followed by a 31-day month, with the 31st day ending the season, so that Enoch's year consisted of 364 days. Now, it's interesting because at first glance, the Enochian calendar was criticized because it would get out of sync with the seasons. But here's the interesting thing. If you add an extra week at the end of every 7th year, that's 7 days after 7 years, then you can add 2 extra weeks to every 4th sabbatical year, or every 28 years. So you have 14 days added every 28 years, which half of 28 is 14. The calendar would be just as accurate as the Julian calendar. Does all this start to ring a bell? The 4, the 7, the 28, the 14. This is everything dealing with the Twin Towers, which stood for 28 years, and Building 7 opened in the 14th year, and it was 47 stories tall. Here's the 14 days, it's the 2 weeks, and Building 7, the 7th year, it's all here, you guys. 9/11 was a ritual, and this is the Book of Enoch. This is simply unbelievable. This is a huge discovery. It confirms the validity of the Book of Enoch, which we've been getting so much grief about. People saying, oh, you have to trust God. Wouldn't God have put it in there? Yeah, because people are listening to man instead of God. God's showing you the ancient proof. It's right here. The ancient proof. The Book of Enoch was found with the oldest copies of the Bible ever. The Book of Enoch was found with them. It is man standing in the way of it. It is religious community that is standing in the way of it because they don't want to admit that they made a mistake. Take care and be safe, you guys.
And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book, and many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to the shame of everlasting contempt. And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words, and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased.
Okay, so the bandwidth of the first video ended, and I have to do a second video, which is actually a good thing. So that way, those of you really interested in this, I'm going to just continue on the information here. Now, when you print this and you look at page 1, guys, this is the pattern that you see. Now, this is very similar, and you can see that here you have the seasons. Season 1, spring, 2, summer, 3, fall, 4, winter, okay? And then the corresponding months. So this is very similar to the pattern I showed you before, but you can see it's 4, 12, and 36. So in the first month you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it goes around and ends at 36. So in this pattern you can see the Hebrew month and a corresponding sign. Okay. Now when you print the other pages, you can also see listed the decans. So for example, when we're looking here, and we have month 1, sign Aries, and then you have 1, 2, 3. There are 3 decans, and over here we can find those. So we have Aries, and then we have 3 decans. Okay. And I have a number here which gives you them 1, 2, 3, and that's the information that's on here 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now also I just want to point out a couple things on here that you may not be familiar with, and that is when we talk about the horse riders, white, red, black, and pale, there is a star that corresponds to them for each cycle, and that is for the spring season and the spring equinox. It's Aldebaran, okay, Regulus, Antares, and Fomalhaut, okay. So those are called the 4 generals, or the 4 spirits of the heavens, okay? And these are the 4 royal stars that correspond to them. All right, now also within this pattern, you can see that Aries relates to the lamb, Taurus is the ox. So that brings us to the signs relating to the living creatures. Taurus, ox, okay? Leo, which is over here, is the lion. We have Aquila, the eagle. I believe that's in this decan. Actually, I think that's over here. Yes, here it is, eagle. That's within Capricorn. That's Aquila. And then the last one we have is the sign of man, and that is Aquarius. Okay, so that's just a brief rundown. Now, again, that doesn't relate to astrology and you and your birthday or any of that stuff. But it does relate to the measurements of time, and is important because this is why you have 36 decans plus 12 is 48. Now each decan relates to a week, so you have 40 weeks. Then you have 3 feasts. That's 52 weeks. Okay, so you multiply, 51 weeks. So multiply 51 times 7. That's 357. Okay, so you got 3 Jewish weeks feasts. And then you have 3 day feasts. So you take 357 days plus 3 is 360. That's why pre-flood, it's a 360-day calendar. Then you add the 4 days of the seasons, and that brings you to 364. That's why that order is important, guys, okay? So that's what is on here. Now this one you can also print as a clock, and if you do and you print it as a clock and you put an hour hand, that would be the first hour of the day is 7 a.m. And then the first night, it would be 7 p.m. Okay, and then it goes around. So when you read the Bible, it says, when the day of Pentecost was fully come, and they said, oh, we are not drunk as you suppose because it is the 3rd hour. That's right here, number 3. Okay, so when you have the hours of the day, you have 1, 2, 3, and that is actually 9 a.m. Okay, so I encourage you to print this as a clock. That way you can see it as a clock and you can measure the time, which is in red. Okay, you have the hour a day, hour 1, 2, 3, and it's also a calendar. So this one pattern is a clock and a calendar. Okay, all right. Now let's go over here. I want to show you a couple other things. There's so much information in this calendar, it's impossible to fit it on one page. That's why it's 5 pages. So here what we have is we have the season. Okay, so this whole, again, the 3 months is a season. It starts with the month of Abib or Nisan. And now what we have is a different priest course, guys. So these are actually the singers and musicians. This is 1 Chronicles 25. And again, you can see that there's a course of priests by 24. So here you can see them listed. Now the reason this is important is that a year starts with a priest course, and he would actually serve 3 times in a year. So the first week of the first month, the first week of the 7th month, and actually the last week of the year, the 4th week of the 12th month. Then what happens is it shifts, okay? So this whole year is the year 2016 of Zakur, because he administers 3 times in the year, all right? Then the next year, 2017, would be Isri. And then he would be here and he would minister 3 times. The reason this is important, guys, is because it gives us the leap cycle. So this cycle goes around, because there's 24 of them, it goes around every 24 years. So what happens is every 24 years you accrue days, and in this calendar you would add a leap month every 24 years. And when you do that, now you have the leap cycle. So that's the house of David that gives us that, okay? So that's why when you have here, you have a priest course. There's also a priest course on this one, but it's a different priest name and a different priest course. So this is 1 Chronicles 24. This is the singers and musicians in 1 Chronicles 25, okay? So then what you have is you have some other information. Like I said, you got the signs, you got the decans, you got the weeks, and you also have here the cycle of 7. Remember we talked about this before, that here you have the Feast of Weeks, and this whole cycle here is a cycle of the 7th cycle of that year. So it's almost like a Sabbath from here, second week of Abib and Nisan, to Feast of Weeks. And again, as you can see, the next corresponding week, I have it listed as Ephesus because it's like the churches, okay? And that continues till here, all right? And that's the 5th month in the first week, which would then be Smyrna. And then you can see this pattern going throughout the year. Now this is also on here. Let me give you an example. So here is Ephesus. So you have Feast of Weeks, that's the 50th week. And then you have Ephesus, okay? So when we look at that here, there's Ephesus, okay, or the Feast of Weeks, and you can see here that is 50. The next week would be 1 in the cycle, and then this here is counting the weeks in the year, okay? Now there's 50 weeks in the year because we skip unleavened bread, and we skip tabernacles, and you can see that here. Okay, so that's what this cycle is of 7 times 7 week cycle. And here we're just naming them corresponding to the 7 churches in Revelation 2 and 3. Okay, now also on here you will find the fasts. Okay, so the fasts are listed in the last column. Okay, and then you can see whatever the month is, you can see where the fast is. I do believe I put those on here. So in the 4th month and the 17th, you know, that's a fast, okay? So I know it's a lot of information. If any of this is unclear, go back and watch it a second time. And those of you that, you know, want to fight and argue me about this calendar, I find arguing about these things completely useless. If you find the information beneficial, praise God. If not, I'm not going to argue with you, okay? You can make your own decisions. I'm just presenting this. I will be updating from time to time things that are updates and information that is pertaining to the Tabernacles offering and the 2016 year or calendar, okay? So that's what these other pages are. If you print it off, this is page 4, this is page 5. And so, you know, praise God for this information. Hope you find it a blessing. And thanks for watching. And, you know, we'll have some more soon. Okay, take care, guys.
So what does this all mean? For the past 3 years, I have been witness to many changes that are taking place. I have told you about lying signs and wonders that myself and others were experiencing. One of the 7 wonders of the world has changed. There is now 2 great pyramids, when many only remember there being one. I have told you about the changes in the sun. Many will tell you the sun looks and feels different. There have been changes in the moon. When do you remember the moon looking full for 3 straight days or lying on its side? I have told you about changes in the stars. Orion being larger in the sky that fateful night in 2016. What is happening to those of you experiencing the Mandela Effect is this. God the Father is allowing you to see the signs for a reason. We are His lost sheep, and He is doing everything to call out to us, as well as call out to you. Let it be heard and known to all that at this moment you have been witness to. God is coming soon, and you are running out of time, because time is out of sync with God's law. So on that day, when time is in sync once again, I pray you have found Him, and you know your Father in heaven.